Newell wiped the sweat from his forehead as he carefully brushed away centuries of dust from what appeared to be a metal panel. The red sun of this alien world beat down on the archaeological site, making the work even more challenging. But after 3 weeks of digging through the ruins of what was once Earth's most advanced military base, his team had finally found something remarkable. "Professor Newell," Vitna called out from the deeper part of the excavation. Her voice carried a mix of excitement and uncertainty that made Newell's antennae twitch. Like all members of the Galactic Archaeological Society, they had the characteristic blue-tinted skin and sensitive antennae that helped them detect energy signatures from ancient artifacts. Newell carefully made his way down the carved steps into the excavation pit. The afternoon light streamed through the protective force field above, casting strange shadows on the walls. As he reached Vitna's position, his antennae began vibrating intensely. "There's an energy signature here," Vitna said, pointing to what looked like a sealed door. "It's faint, but it's been steady for the past hour." Newell pulled out his scanner and swept it across the surface. The readings made his eyes widen. This isn't just residual energy. There's an active power source behind this door. The discovery brought the entire team to the site. 6 archaeologists, all experts in human civilization, gathered around as their excavation robots carefully cut through the ancient security measures. The door finally opened with a soft hiss, revealing a chamber that had remained sealed for 3 centuries. Inside, they found rows of metallic pods, most of them damaged by time. But one pod, at the very end of the room, remained perfectly intact. Its surface gleamed as if it had been polished yesterday, defying the dust and decay that covered everything else. "Incredible," Newell whispered, approaching the pod. The control panel still glowed with a soft blue light. Through the clear top of the pod, they could see its occupant, a human female, perfectly preserved, looking as if she were merely sleeping. "Is she real?" Vitna asked, her voice barely above a whisper. She had studied countless human artifacts, but never had they found an actual specimen in such perfect condition. Newell ran his scanner over the pod. "The preservation is remarkable. This must have been some kind of stasis technology. Look at the craftsmanship of the pod. This wasn't meant for regular cryogenic storage. This was military-grade equipment." The team worked carefully to document everything about their discovery. They photographed the pod from every angle, recorded all energy signatures, and began the delicate process of translating the human writing on the pod's control panel. "Professor," Vitna called out again, her antennae quivering, "I'm picking up something strange. These energy patterns, they're not just maintaining preservation. They're active, almost like." "Like what?" "Like they're waiting for something." Newell dismissed her concerns with a gentle wave. After 300 years, any active systems would be showing signs of degradation. This is simply remarkable engineering, nothing more. The humans were advanced, but they're long gone now. This is just a perfectly preserved relic of their civilization. The team carefully prepared the pod for transport to the Stellar Research Station. As they worked, none of them noticed the slight flutter of movement beneath the woman's closed eyelids or the way the pod's energy signature pulsed in response to their presence. What they had found was not just a relic of the past. It was a carefully placed piece of humanity's greatest strategy, one that would soon change everything they thought they knew about the species they believed had vanished from the galaxy. Songyai stood before the stasis pod, her scientific curiosity battling with a strange feeling of unease. The laboratory at the Stellar Research Station was the most advanced facility in this part of the galaxy, but even their best equipment couldn't fully explain what they were seeing. "The readings make no sense," she said, adjusting her instruments for the 5th time that day. The human woman in the pod looked so peaceful, like a sleeping princess from the ancient Earth stories Songyai had studied. Her skin was pale but perfect, her chest rising and falling in what appeared to be normal breathing patterns. The door to the lab slid open with a soft whoosh. Director Tawan walked in, his tall frame casting a shadow across the pod. Unlike Song Yi's gentle blue coloring, his skin had a darker, almost purple tint that marked him as being from the outer colonies. "Any progress with our specimen?" he asked, not bothering to look at Song Yi. His eyes were fixed on the human woman. "Yes, Director. But there's something unusual about the brain activity." Song Yi pulled up the holographic display. "See these patterns? They're not random. They're too organized for someone who's supposed to be in stasis. It's almost like she's thinking." Taiwan frowned. "Impossible. The humans disappeared 300 years ago. This is just a well-preserved body, nothing more." He tapped the pod's surface with one long finger. "I want to begin the dissection process tomorrow." Song Yi's head snapped up. "Dissection? But sir, this is the most intact human specimen we've ever found. We should study her as she is." "Your concern is noted, but this is not up for discussion." His voice was cold. "Prepare the specimen for examination tomorrow morning." "That's an order." After he left, Song Yi stayed late in the lab, running more tests. The woman in the pod had long black hair that framed her face perfectly. According to the pod's data, her name was Jin-A. Song Yi had spent hours trying to decode more information, but most of the pod's systems were locked behind security measures she couldn't break. A soft beep from her console drew her attention. The brain activity was spiking again, stronger than before. Song Yi leaned closer to the pod, her hand touching the cool surface. "What secrets are you hiding?" she whispered. Suddenly, all the screens in the lab began flashing. Warning signals filled the air. Song Yi jumped back as the pod's systems came alive, displays lighting up one after another. "Security breach in Laboratory 7, the station's computer announced. Unknown energy signature detected." Song Yi rushed to the communications panel, but before she could call for help, she heard something that made her freeze. A sound so small, she almost missed it over the blaring alarms. The sound of the pod's seal breaking. She turned slowly, her heart beating fast in her chest. The pod's surface was starting to fog up from the inside, the clear material becoming cloudy. Through the mist, she could see movement. Then, like a scene from one of those ancient human horror stories, a hand pressed against the inside of the pod. The fingers spread wide, leaving clear marks in the condensation. Song Yi couldn't move. She couldn't even breathe. She watched as the fog began to clear. And then she saw it. Jin-A's eyes were open. They weren't the dull, lifeless eyes of a preserved specimen. They were sharp, alert, and very much alive. Those eyes locked onto Song Yi with an intensity that made her step back. As the pod's top began to lift, Song Yi realized that everything they thought they knew about humans was about to change. The specimen wasn't just well-preserved. She had been waiting. The alarms kept ringing through the laboratory as Jin-A sat up in the pod. Her movements were slow but sure, like a cat carefully stretching after a long sleep. Steam rolled off her body in the cold lab air. Song Yi backed away until she hit the wall. Her training had never prepared her for this. The human woman should have been dead, or at least brain damaged after 300 years. Instead, she looked ready. "Water," Jin-A said, her voice rough from centuries of silence. She spoke in perfect modern Galactic, surprising Song Yi even more. Before Song Yi could respond, the lab doors burst open. Security guards rushed in with their weapons raised, followed by Director Tadwan. His purple face had turned almost black with anger. "Stop right there," he shouted at Jin-A. "Don't move." Jin-A turned her head slowly to look at them. Her eyes, dark and sharp, studied each guard carefully. She didn't seem afraid. If anything, she looked annoyed. "The water first," Jin-A said calmly. "Then we can talk about why you were planning to cut open a living person." Taiwan's mouth fell open. You understood our conversations." "Every word." Jin-A's lips curved into a small smile. "Your security systems are good, but they're based on old Earth tech. Did you really think we wouldn't build in ways to stay aware while in stasis?" Song Yi found her courage and stepped forward with a water bottle. The guards tensed, but Jin A made no threatening moves as she took the bottle and drank. "Thank you," she said to Song Yi. "You're the only one who noticed I was actually thinking in there. You're more observant than your colleagues." "What? What are you?" Todd One demanded. "Lieutenant Jin A Kim, Earth Defense Force, Special Operations Division." She stretched her shoulders. "Part of Project Legacy. Though I suspect you've never heard of it." The guards looked at each other, confused. Song Yi stepped closer, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. "Project Legacy?" she asked. "What was it for?" "Insurance," Jin A replied. "When Earth faced its greatest threat, we didn't run away like everyone thinks. We planned. Some of us were chosen to sleep, to wait, to be ready when the time was right." She stood up from the pod, steady on her feet. The guards raised their weapons again, but she ignored them. "Your history books got it wrong," Jin A continued. "Earth wasn't evacuated in panic. We didn't go extinct. We executed the biggest strategic retreat in human history." Song Yi's mind raced with the implications. The other pods in the ruins. "More of us," Jin A confirmed. "All over Earth's old territories. All waiting. All ready." She looked at her hands, flexing her fingers. "Though I doubt many had such dedicated researchers watching over them. Your care probably helped my pod stay stable." Taiwan had heard enough. "Arrest her," he ordered the guards. "She's too dangerous to." Before he could finish, Jin A moved. In one fluid motion, she was across the room. The guards didn't even have time to fire before she had disarmed two of them. Their weapons clattered to the floor, and she stood between them and Taiwan, looking completely calm. 300 years in stasis," she said quietly, "and my combat reflexes still work perfectly. Now, Director Taiwan, I suggest we all sit down and have a civil conversation, because believe me, you're going to want to hear what I have to say about why I'm awake now." The room fell silent except for the still blaring alarms. Song Yi looked at the human woman with new understanding. This wasn't just a preserved specimen from the past. This was the beginning of something much bigger. An hour later, they all sat in the station's main conference room. Jin A had changed into modern clothes that Song Yi had brought her. She sat calmly at the table, facing not just Taiwan and Song Yi, but now the entire station's senior staff. "Let me tell you what really happened to Earth," Jin A said, her voice clear and strong. "Not the story you've all been told, but the truth." The room was silent. Even Taiwan, who had been angry earlier, now listened carefully. The security guards stood by the doors, still nervous after seeing how fast she could move. 300 years ago, Earth faced a choice, Jin A continued. Our scanners had detected something coming from deep space. Something big, something dangerous. We had maybe 50 years before it would reach our solar system. She touched a control panel on the table, and a holographic map appeared above them. It showed Earth and its colonies as they had been 3 centuries ago. We could have tried to fight it then, with the technology we had. But our scientists said we weren't ready. We needed time. More time than normal research could give us. Jin A's eyes swept across the room. So we made a plan. The biggest plan in human history. Song Yi leaned forward. Project Legacy. That was just one part. Jin A nodded. We spread a story that Earth was dying. That we had to evacuate. The galaxy watched as humans scattered, apparently running from their doomed homeworld. But that's not what really happened, Song Yi said softly, beginning to understand. No, Jin A smiled. While everyone thought we were running away in panic, we were actually moving according to a careful plan. We set up hidden colonies in places no one would think to look. Deep underground on dead worlds. Inside asteroid fields. In the spaces between solar systems. The station staff looked at each other, shocked. One of them spoke up. But why fake extinction? Why not just ask the galaxy for help? Because we needed secrecy to develop our new technologies. Some of our research. Jin A paused. Let's just say it went beyond what the Galactic Council would have allowed. We needed complete freedom to work without oversight. Taiwan's face darkened. You're saying humans have been hiding, developing illegal technologies. I'm saying we've been developing the technologies we need to save everyone, not just ourselves. Jin A's voice grew serious. That thing we detected, it's still coming. But now we're ready for it. She pressed another button, and new images appeared. They showed massive structures hidden in various parts of space, advanced ships unlike anything the galaxy had seen, and weapons that seemed impossible. All this time, while the galaxy thought we were gone, we've been preparing, building, growing stronger. Jin A looked at each person in the room. And now it's time to come back. Why now? Songye asked. Because the threat is nearly here. We need to warn the galaxy and prepare everyone. Jin A stood up. That's why sleepers like me were placed in stasis. We're not just soldiers or scientists. We're messengers, bridge builders. We're here to help the galaxy face what's coming. The room erupted in questions, but Jin A raised her hand for silence. I know this is hard to believe, but right now more pods are opening across the old Earth territories. More of us are waking up. And soon, very soon, the hidden colonies will reveal themselves. She walked to the window and looked out at the stars. The galaxy thought humanity ran away to die. Instead, we've been its secret guardians, preparing for a war that could end everything. She turned back to face them. The question is, will you help us? Songyai stood up first, followed slowly by others in the room. Even Taiwan remained silent, his earlier anger replaced by understanding of just how big this really was. Humanity hadn't gone extinct. They had just been getting ready. Songyai watched as Jin A's fingers flew across the ancient Earth computer terminal they had found in the station's storage. They had spent the last 12 hours searching through old databases that no one had been able to access before. The security codes were always there, Jin A explained as she worked. Hidden in my pod's programming. That's another reason why we went into stasis, to protect the passwords with our own minds. The screen lit up with files and images, maps of secret bases, designs for advanced ships, and plans for weapons that seemed impossible. Songyi's eyes widened as she saw what humans had been building in secret. This is amazing, she whispered. But why show me all this? Why trust me? Jin A stopped typing and turned to look at her. Because you cared. You didn't see me as just a specimen to study. You saw me as a person. Their quiet moment was interrupted as the lab door slid open. Director Taiwan walked in, followed by two new people wearing official Galactic Council uniforms. Step away from that terminal, Taiwan ordered. His voice was cold. The Council has decided this information is too dangerous. It must be contained. Jin A didn't move. You can't stop this, Director. The truth is already spreading. More pods are opening every hour. Those pods are being sealed away, one of the Council officials said. We can't risk the panic that would spread if people learned humans had been deceiving the galaxy for centuries. Songye stepped forward. But the threat they were preparing for is real. We've seen the data. If we don't let them help us. Silence. Taiwan snapped. You're already in trouble for helping her access these systems. Don't make it worse. Jin A stood up slowly. The files are already copying to safe locations. You can't erase this. She looked at the Council officials. Your real fear isn't that people will panic. You're afraid because humans achieve more in hiding than your societies did in the open. The room grew tense. Guards appeared in the doorway, weapons ready. But Jin A remained calm, a small smile on her face. What's so funny? Taiwan demanded. Check your communication systems, Jin A said. Everyone's personal devices started beeping at once. Songyai pulled out her tablet and gasped. Messages were flooding in from all over the galaxy. Reports of more pods opening. Signals from hidden human bases activating. And something else. Massive energy readings appearing at the edge of known space. It's starting, Jin'ei said quietly. The threat we detected is nearly here. You can try to hide the truth, but you can't hide what's coming. The galaxy needs to prepare. Suddenly, the main screens in the lab turned on by themselves. A message began playing. The same message being broadcast across every channel in the galaxy. It showed hundreds of advanced human ships emerging from their hidden locations, cities appearing out of nowhere on supposedly dead worlds, and more people like Jin'ei waking up everywhere. This was the real purpose of Project Legacy, Jin'ei explained. Not just to preserve a few of us, but to coordinate humanity's return at exactly the right moment. The council officials looked pale. Taiwan backed away from the screens, his earlier confidence gone. So, Jin'ei said, looking at each person in the room, we can waste time fighting about the past, or we can work together to save the future. Which will it be? Song Yi moved to stand beside Jin'ei. I'm with her, she said firmly. One by one, others in the room began to nod. Even the guards lowered their weapons. Only Taiwan and the council officials remained uncertain. Jin'ei turned back to the computer terminal. Good, because we have a lot of work to do, and not much time to do it. Humanity didn't spend 3 centuries hiding just to fail now. The screens showed more human ships appearing every minute. The galaxy was about to change forever, and it had started in this simple research station with one woman opening her eyes. 3 days after Jin'ei's awakening, the stellar research station had become a center of activity. Song Yi watched from the main control room as another human ship appeared from seemingly nowhere, joining the growing fleet outside the station. They're beautiful, aren't they? Jin'ei said, standing beside her. The human ships looked nothing like other ships in the galaxy. They were sleek, dark, and moved in ways that seemed impossible. But not everyone was happy about these changes. Director Taiwan had locked himself in his office, sending urgent messages to his supporters in the Galactic Council. He was trying to stop the news from spreading. We have a problem, Haynul said as he rushed into the control room. The archaeologist who had first found Jin'ei's pod now worked with them. The council is sending ships to shut us down. They're saying this is all a trick. Jin'ei didn't look worried. How many ships? 20 battle cruisers, Haynul replied. They'll be here in 6 hours. Song Yi felt her heart beat faster. What can we do? We show them the truth, Jin'ei said. She walked to the main computer and began typing. Bitna, are you ready? Bitna's voice came through the speakers. She was now working at another station across the galaxy. Ready. All our teams are in position. Jin'ei pressed a final button. Then let's give them something they can't ignore. Suddenly, screens all across the galaxy lit up. But this time, it wasn't just showing human ships. It showed the threat that humanity had seen coming. Massive dark shapes moving through deep space, destroying everything in their path. These images are live, Jin'ei explained to everyone watching. This is what we've been preparing for. This is why we hid. And this is what will reach populated space in less than 1 year. The control room was silent as they watched the destruction. Then, Jin'ei showed something else. The hidden human cities, the advanced weapons, the armies that had been training for centuries. We didn't run away. Jin'ei's voice echoed across the galaxy. We didn't die out. We sacrificed everything, including our place in the galaxy, to prepare for this moment. We became the guardians no one knew they had. Song Yi watched as the message spread. Across every world, people saw the truth. They saw both the danger coming and humanity's preparations to fight it. The council ships have stopped, Haynul reported, checking his screens. They're receiving the message too. More pods were opening now. More humans were waking up. And in hidden bases across the galaxy, humanity's secret fleet was revealing itself. Director Taiwan has left the station, a guard reported. Let him go, Jin'ei said. We don't have time for small conflicts now. The real fight is coming. Sonya looked at the human woman who had changed everything in just a few days. What happens next? Now we do what humans do best. Jin-A smiled. We adapt. We fight. We protect others. She turned to face everyone in the control room. For 300 years, we worked alone. But we don't have to anymore. The screens showed more alien ships arriving at the station. But these weren't council ships coming to stop them. These were ships coming to help, to learn, to join the fight. The council tried to keep the truth hidden, Haynul said. But they failed. Truth has a way of getting out, Jin-A replied. She looked at Song-Yi, especially when good people held it along. Song-Yi felt proud. She had chosen to help Jin-A, to believe in her. And now she was part of something bigger than she had ever imagined. Outside the station, human and alien ships began moving together, preparing for what was coming. The galaxy was uniting, not in fear of humanity's deception, but in gratitude for their sacrifice and preparation. The resistance against the coming threat had begun. 1 month after Jin-A's awakening, the Stellar Research Station had transformed. What was once a quiet science facility was now a bustling command center. Ships from every species in the galaxy came and went, learning from the humans who had prepared for so long. Song-Yi stood at her new post, watching as another group of alien officers learned to use human technology. Jin-A was teaching them about the advanced weapon systems that humanity had developed in secret. Remember, Jin-A explained to the group, these aren't just weapons. They're shields too. We designed everything to protect as much as to fight. Haynul rushed into the room with exciting news. The last hidden human city has revealed itself. The one inside the gas giant in the Proxima system. It's amazing. They built an entire civilization inside the planet's storms. Jin-A smiled. That was always my favorite hiding place. The council would never think to look there. The main screen lit up with a new message. The Galactic Council, which had first tried to stop them, was now officially recognizing humanity's return. They had no choice. The threat from deep space was now visible to everyone, and only humanity's preparations could save them. Director Tawan sent a message. Bitne reported from her station. He wants to apologize and offer his help. Tell him we accept, Jin-A said without hesitation. We need everyone working together now. Song-Yi walked over to Jin-A. Did you ever doubt this would work? The hiding, the waiting, all those years of preparation. Many times, Jin-A admitted quietly, 300 years is a long time to keep a secret, but we knew we had to succeed. The galaxy gave us no choice. They wouldn't have let us build what we needed to build. Sometimes the best way to help people is to let them think you're gone. The station shook slightly as another human ship docked. This one was massive, bigger than anything Song-Yi had ever seen. Its design was beautiful but clearly built for war. That's the legacy, Jin-A explained. Our flagship, built over 200 years, deep inside an asteroid field. Every human city helped create it, piece by piece, in total secret. More aliens arrived at the station every day. Scientists, soldiers, leaders, all coming to learn, to help, to prepare. The galaxy was changing fast, but it was a good change. Everyone was working together now. Look at this, Haynul called out, showing new images on the screen. The threat from deep space was still coming, but now they could see human ships moving to meet it. They weren't running away this time. 300 years of preparation, Jin-A said proudly, and not just in weapons and ships. We studied them, learned their weaknesses. Every human city specialized in different research. Every sleeping pod held different pieces of the plan. Song-Yi looked at her friend, because that's what Jin-A had become. You gave up everything to prepare for this. Your whole civilization hid itself away. Yes, Jin-A nodded. But look what we gained. Instead of one species facing this threat alone, now the whole galaxy stands together. Sometimes you have to disappear to come back stronger. Outside the station's windows, ships from every species in the galaxy practiced moving together, learning to fight as one fleet. The humans led them, sharing all they had learned in their centuries of preparation. "A new dawn," Songye said softly. "For everyone," Jin-A agreed. She looked at the fleet outside, at the mixed crew working together in the station, at the foundation of trust they had built despite the long deception. Humanity didn't just hide to survive. We hid to make sure everyone would survive. The galaxy had changed forever. The species that everyone thought was extinct had become their greatest hope. And it had all started with one woman opening her eyes in what everyone thought was just a relic of the past. The real story was just beginning.